Welcome to Salisbury University on the Air, a program highlighting the activities and the people of the campus. My name is Susan Purnell. One of the more difficult aspects of attending college can be the financial commitment that is required. However, many resources are set up to help those in need. Students need only to know where to look. Here to tell us how Salisbury University can help students in this area are Mason White, Director of Financial Aid, and Michael Elliott, Financial Aid Coordinator. First is Mason. Welcome, Mason.
Thank you.
So glad to meet you.
It's great to be here.
And you're relatively new to SU, right?
Yes, I am.
How did you get here?
Well, I came here in June of this year. My wife and I are from California.
Oh my, long trip.
We most recently moved from Nebraska, though. And we have 3 children, and we really love Salisbury. We love the Eastern Shore. We think it's a great place to raise our family.
It is.
We spent a lot of summer weekends at Assateague, and it's just been a great fit for our family.
That's my favorite place to go to.
It's wonderful.
How did you hear about it?
Well, I saw the position through
Online,
yeah, and just researching, and I just loved the website and the community outreach aspect of students, and it just looked like a great fit.
It really is. I grew up here, moved away for a long time, and came back and never looked back to my New York City days. So I love it here.
Great.
So welcome.
Thank you.
And let's talk about the financial aid office. I know that the expenses of college can be prohibitive for so many children. In fact, I was thinking last night as I was looking at my interview questions, when I went to Gettysburg College, it was $4,000 a year, and now it's $60,000. And I don't even know how people can ever afford that. So your role is so important. Talk about the importance of the office itself.
Yeah, well, the Office of Financial Aid Scholarships at SU is a vital office on campus. We are there for students and families to guide them through the financial aid process. Financial aid can be intimidating and challenging and just a crazy world to navigate sometimes. So we just want students and families to know that we are there to help them, to guide them through that process, and really show them that an SU education is possible.
So I know there's more than 1 or 2 resources for a student. Are they often surprised at the number of ways in which they can get help?
Yes, yes. I have found over the years working with students and families that they are often surprised that there is financial aid available. It's not just one type of grant. It can be several grants. There's federal, state, and institutional aid that's available. So we always encourage families to go ahead and apply for financial aid because they may be surprised what they may qualify for.
Right. And you know, you talk about the sticker price, but there's a lot more to going to college than just tuition. And I know you've got some sort of an application online for students to go to. Is that right? To understand the true price of going to college.
Yeah, it's called the Net Price Calculator. It's on our website, and it is a very handy tool for families and students to use, where the student can provide their test scores like ACT, SAT test scores. They can provide their personal information and some of the FAFSA information, and it calculates an approximation of what they may be eligible for in aid here at SU, as well as what type of costs they may expect to incur here at SU. It's really a handy tool, and it's pretty spot on as best as we can make it.
Yeah, I remember my parents paid for my tuition, but and I think they paid for my room, but I remember I had to raise the rest and work during college, which I'm sure many of your students do as well.
Yes.
You mentioned FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid, and I think that's the first sort of source of aid that most students go to. Is that right?
That is correct. That is the main application for all students, regardless of where you're going to attend college. You need to fill out the FAFSA. And
it's the same throughout the land,
Throughout
right?
the land,
Okay.
yes. Some institutions may have a separate supplemental application, but generally the FAFSA is the main application. It's free. It stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. And schools use that to determine what type of financial aid the student would be eligible for.
if you fill one out, can you send it to different schools?
You can. You can list several schools on the FAFSA, and the federal government will send your FAFSA application to each school, and then you would hear from those schools.
Huh. Now, I understand once you receive this federal aid, you are responsible for having it throughout your whole career. Is that correct?
That is correct. Students must renew their FAFSA annually. Actually, every October, the FAFSA becomes available. So now is the time for next academic year to apply and renew your FAFSA. But every October, students need to get in the habit of renewing their FAFSA for the next academic year. It's done a whole year ahead of time.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to forget to do that.
No, you don't want to forget.
Right. Gosh. Now, within your office, I'm sure that each person has his level of expertise in certain areas. Tell us a little bit about the different people that you work with, what the importance of their jobs are, and then also how do we get in touch with you?
Great. In our office, there's 7 staff members, including myself. We have financial aid counselors, we have IT person, we have financial aid coordinator and associate director. We all work together to help the students and families. So all of us answer the phones and help the families and students as they come into our office. But we're located in Holloway Hall on the 2nd floor.
Oh.
And we're open 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday.
You're in the one building that I know the best because it's been here my whole life.
Yes, yeah.
School is growing in leaps and bounds, so
Yes.
it's good that they have the aid available to them and people like you to help them navigate that course.
Yeah.
So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
In just a moment, we'll speak with Financial Aid Coordinator Michael Elliott. But first, let's take a look at the community efforts of SU's administration and others through the Maryland Governor's Office's Day of Service.
Well, Governor Hogan invited all state employees in Maryland to participate in a day of service in September and October. At SU, we hardly need an invitation to get involved with our community. So we're here beautifying City Park today. It's a great project.
So SU takes very seriously its responsibility to the community and has a commitment to service. And we're really excited because this is a place that the community can take pride in, and we're happy to play a role in beautifying the area.
We are building a ramp for a nice young man who has a disabled mother who needs to get in and out of her house. So we're coming to build a wheelchair ramp that will assist in the accessibility to go to doctor's appointments, get medication.
It's just a great opportunity to give back to the community and to specific groups and homes. You know, it could change their life.
It's a pretty powerful experience to think you can come together with a small group of people. They're getting to know each other a little more, and so we're getting a lot out of it by doing that. But in the end of the day, in 6 hours, we've had an opportunity to impact someone's life. It's hard work, but they start to realize as the project's coming together, like, whoa, I mean, this really is changing somebody's life.
Well, HALO is a family mission where they're looking to look after the poor and the needy in the local community. We've been working with HALO for a good number of years now, and we have now built up a system whereby we can get students to come in and serve the community on a Wednesday and Friday morning, serving them breakfast. A lot of the students here are from the baseball team. We've got some American ambassadors. We have some folks from basketball, we have folks from FCA and Thrive who come in, who buy the food, who prepare the food, who serve the food and then clear the kitchen afterwards.
It's important because it shows perspective on what we get to do on a daily basis, and what we have is a lot more compared to what a lot of others have. And we take the time out here to cook them hot breakfast because otherwise they don't get anything. It's either cereal and milk or nothing at all. So it really puts into perspective a lot of things for us.
Well, I think that Salisbury University is an important part of the community, and so I think every opportunity that we get to reach out to the people within Salisbury is going to be a really positive thing, especially for the students and their growth and development. From my perspective, if you can't love on others, then what's the point? It's as simple as that.
I've always been so impressed with SU's students, faculty, and staff and how they get involved in the community. It's wonderful to see how that leadership comes from the top. Next, we're joined by Michael Elliott, Financial Aid Coordinator. So hi, Michael. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Susan. Thank you.
Good. So glad to have you. And I know you're very familiar to SU. You got your bachelor's here and your master's. Is that right?
That's correct.
And what brought you back this time to SU?
Well, I never really left.
You never did?
I worked at the university previously for about 10 years in food service. I did leave in 2006 for a period of time to pursue some other opportunities, and then came back to SU in financial aid in 2014. And here I am today.
So you're pretty much a lifer.
I am. I'm from
Right.
the lower shore, and this is home. I love it.
Did you grow up here?
I did.
I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. Okay, in Salisbury?
Mardella Springs.
Mardella, pretty close. Okay.
Yes.
Now, we talked a little bit about federal aid, but I also know that there are academic merit scholarships as well that are available to students. Tell us a little bit about those.
That's correct. So we offer a presidential scholarship to incoming freshmen each year based on their SAT or ACT score, as well as their high school GPA. So a Maryland resident student can receive an academic scholarship up to $5,000 per year. It's awarded as a 4-year scholarship, renewable. And non-Maryland students can receive the presidential scholarship up to $8,500 a year.
Oh, gosh. Now, do they have to apply each year like with FAFSA or no?
No.
You get a 4-year scholarship.
That's
$5,000 a
correct.
year or $8,500, as you said.
Up to those amounts based on their academic level, and that's determined by the SAT score and their high school GPA. But they don't apply each year. Once they're offered that as an incoming freshman, they're eligible to keep that based on some renewal criteria.
Do they have to keep the grades up?
Correct. A 3.0 GPA is required each year.
Yeah, that's my son had an academic scholarship at SCAD, and but he had to have a 3.5 to keep it up. So I was really good incentive for him, though. I mean, it really was. He said, I have to have a 3.5.
Right.
You know, so make it work. You know.
And we also offer an academic scholarship for transfer students, maybe coming from a different institution, community college or another 4-year college. And transfer students can receive a transfer merit scholarship between $1,000 and $2,000 per year, depending on their transfer GPA.
So say I'm a student and I'm applying to SU, but also applying for an academic merit scholarship. Where along the way do I find out if I've gotten it?
Well, the academic scholarship, the presidential scholarship, if a student's eligible to receive that, would receive notification from the admissions office shortly after they're offered admission to the university.
Oh, okay.
So that's how they would find out.
Yeah,
Relatively
I'm sure that would
quickly.
make a difference.
Absolutely.
For a lot of them,
Absolutely.
right. We spoke with Mason about some of the options that students have in making college more affordable. I know there also are some local organizations, local opportunities for students as well.
Right. So Maryland resident students can receive financial assistance from the Maryland Higher Education Commission. The Office of Student Financial Assistance is the umbrella office that handles state financial aid. So Maryland resident students have a number of opportunities available. Some of them are quite complex. But the 2 largest need-based grants offered to Maryland resident students is the Educational Assistance Grant and the Guaranteed Access Grant.
And how do they apply for those?
So there's no additional application to apply for those. Maryland Higher Ed will receive the FAFSA application as long as the student has a Maryland address listed on their FAFSA, a Maryland high school attended, and at least one Maryland college listed on the FAFSA. MHEC will automatically receive that FAFSA and determine preliminary eligibility just based on those criteria.
So could they get both federal and Maryland?
Absolutely.
Help? Oh.
Absolutely. So the need-based grant, the Educational Assistance Grant, ranges between $400 a year to $3,000. It's based on some criteria from FAFSA, having financial need. Moderately based income families typically can receive that based on the criteria, as opposed to the Guaranteed Access Grant, which is for the most financial needy families from FAFSA. It follows federal poverty level guidelines, and students can be eligible to receive up to $16,700 in the Guaranteed Access Grant.
Gosh.
But typically additional financial aid verification is required to be submitted to the Maryland Higher Education Commission.
Past the FAFSA application.
Past the FAFSA to determine final eligibility. In addition to the need-based grants offered by Maryland Higher Education Commission, they also offer legislative scholarships from the delegate or delegates and senator in the student's home voting district. And students can find out who those representatives are on the state level by contacting their local board of elections or going to the website mdelect.net. Type in their zip code and get the names of their state delegate and senator. We encourage them to contact those offices typically in January and February each year to get the application to apply for legislative scholarships. And those can range from $400 to $4,000 a year, just depending on the funding allocations available from each of their representatives. And then in addition to the legislative scholarships, it's worth mentioning that Maryland Higher Education Commission also offers career-based and occupational-based scholarships and grants. And those are $4,000 grants awarded to students in certain workforce shortage areas across the state in fields like nursing, some teaching fields, social work, and other human services fields. Those scholarships require the students to complete 1 year of service in that field for each year they receive the grant. And they're typically 2-year grants, so there could be a $8,000 grant over 2 years for students who agree to commit to service and working in those critical high-need fields across the state of Maryland.
I'd heard of that with the teachers, but I didn't know that it existed in those other fields like
Absolutely.
nursing.
Nursing is a very critical shortfall area in the state of Maryland, and Maryland Higher Education Commission does a lot to try to recruit nurses. Absolutely.
That's another great opportunity.
Certainly is.
So you talked about the Maryland, but I think there are also opportunities for other Mid-Atlantic states students as well.
There are. We offer the Good Neighbor Scholarship to students in 8 surrounding Mid-Atlantic states. And those states are North Carolina, Virginia, Delaware, West Virginia, Washington, D.C., Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. So those students can receive a $6,000 scholarship per year, $3,000 a semester, which covers about 60% of the difference between the out-of-state tuition and in-state tuition.
What is the difference?
About $10,000.
Yeah.
So it covers 60% of that.
So it helps make up for that.
It does.
Yeah, that's quite a difference, but I get it because we're being supported by the state.
Correct.
So
and we are heavily recruited in states like New Jersey and New York. So having that scholarship available to either incoming freshmen or transfer students, both groups of students can receive it. And again, it's eligible as a renewable scholarship as long as they maintain certain academic requirements. And there's no additional application that they need to use to apply to that. It's based on the information provided in their admissions application.
That sounds easier than I thought it would be, given all the various sources of funding. And I know another source of funding is the SU Foundation, which I've proudly served on for many years. And there's lots of scholarship money available through that. Can you tell us a little bit about how you go about getting them? And give us some examples.
Sure. We awarded last year almost a little over $1 million in scholarships from the SU Foundation. And those are a mix of scholarships that have been provided by very generous alumni, business leaders, and just friends of the SU community. The number of scholarships available has risen to about 150 now through the SU Foundation. And for example, all of the endowed schools at the university, the Purdue School, the Seidel School, the Henson School, and the Fulton School have endowed scholarships available to our incoming freshmen that they can apply to. And they're offered on a competitive basis. Typically an SAT requirement is in place, as well as their high school GPA, and then providing a writing sample.
So most of these are merit scholarships, not based on financial need necessarily.
No, correct. Those endowed scholarships from the foundation to each of the schools is not based on financial need. Other components may be required in some of the other scholarships, such as financial need, and some are very specific for students coming from a certain high school, maybe on the Lower Eastern Shore, or having a certain county of residence. And many of them are geared towards students from the Lower Shore, but there's a number of opportunities available.
And anyone can endow a scholarship
Absolutely.
Like this. What's the minimum, do you know?
I don't know the minimum.
I don't either.
That would probably be best directed through the SU Foundation.
Yes. I should know, but I don't. But I do know that like 150 great scholarships are available through the foundation, and totally $1 million a year. That's a pretty remarkable
Pretty impressive.
number. It really is.
It has
impressive.
grown significantly, and one nice feature that we implemented about 3 years ago to help students kind of navigate through all of the SU Foundation scholarships is we have a website available to the students. Salisbury.academicworks.com is the website. And it's organized in such a way that it allows students to search and filter opportunities based on their specific major or their field of study. So if they're a teaching major, or if they're a business major, or a major in the Fulton School, they can sort scholarships to see what's available. Once a student's been offered admission to the university, they have access to log into that site using their credentials here at the university for a username and password. Once they're in the system, as an admitted student or a current student can access it as well. They complete a short general application answering a few questions, and then once they complete that, they're recommended to opportunities in the system that they meet minimum qualifications for. So it takes some of the guesswork out of the process.
That's a great idea.
And figuring out, well, can I apply for this or can I apply for that? This system will match them based on their academic credentials and financial need data from the FAFSA, if that's a component, to let them know what they're recommended to apply to. So they see the deadline dates, they see the description of the scholarship, they can see donor information now, and then decide to apply for the opportunity and submit the information necessary to be eligible.
Well, I'm sure those help attract and also keep a lot of students here at SU.
Certainly,
These
certainly.
scholarship opportunities.
We offer a number of scholarships specific to certain majors, and those are typically upper level scholarships once they reach a junior, senior grade level. But the endowed scholarships for each of the schools, students submit the writing sample directly on the website, and then they're put into the pool of applicants for the committees to select recipients.
Wow.
Really takes the guesswork out of the process, and it's the go-to site students want to use to find out what's available.
Well, it sounds like a lot is available, and that's the great thing about
There
this
is.
university is that it gives many students who may have thought they never had a chance to go to college that chance.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
it must be a rewarding job.
It is very rewarding. It's nice to be able to connect students to financial aid opportunities to help them, reach their educational goals.
Absolutely. And their lifelong goals.
Absolutely.
So great, Michael. Thank you so much for sharing all
Thank
that.
you.
It's great news, and I'm sure there'll be people that will jump on it right now and get online
so.
and see what's available for them.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. SU has so much to offer students, and there are so many ways to find out if it is the right fit for you or the prospective student in your life. Now let's take a look at some of the events on campus in December. There are so many wonderful cultural and educational events coming up, particularly as we head toward the holiday season. I hope you'll find time to make it to campus for some of them. I'd like to thank my guests, Mason White, Director of Financial Aid, and Michael Elliott, Financial Aid Coordinator. I'm Susan Purnell, and this has been Salisbury University On the Air. Thank you for watching.